Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're looking forward to hearing that report coming out of the meeting of CARICOM and to hear what it means for Barbados now to have that relationship with the Bahamas formalized in the way it has. There he is. Good morning, Ambassador.
Good morning, Pearson. I lost the audio there for a couple seconds.
Yeah, that's all right. But welcome home after what was clearly a very busy time for you.
Yes. It was a very substantial CARICOM Heads of Government conference. Not a whole lot of agendas on the item, not a whole lot of items on the agenda, sorry, but solid items. And you just had to look at the guest who found it important to come to the Bahamas to speak to the CARICOM Heads of Government from the United States. You had a delegation that comprised John Kerry, the President's Special Envoy on Climate, Assistant Secretary of State, Brian McNichols, Senator Chris Dodd, the President's Special Envoy, the head of the U.S. Export-Import Bank. You had from Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. You had from the United Arab Emirates, the country that is hosting COP28 this year, their Minister of International Development and her team. From Africa, Professor Benedict Orama of the Afri-Exim Bank and his whole team. From the World Trade Organization, the Director General, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and her team. And so it sent a message that CARICOM is being taken very, very seriously in major capitals and institutions all across the world. And I would say that we were able to deal with some substantive items. The Agri-Food Production Project, 25 by 25, Haiti, obviously, the Bridgetown Initiative, our African outreach program centered around the Afri-Exim Bank. And I would say that those were some of the major items that we were able to make very serious advances on.
What I'm pleased about is the full adoption by the CARICOM members of the Bridgetown Initiative. Talk to me a little bit about what members were saying and why now this full adoption.
Well, the Bridgetown Initiative was crafted in Barbados last year, around about early August. And although it is called the Bridgetown Initiative, it is really an initiative that came out of a meeting of minds, international minds, leading thinkers on climate and development finance from across the world. And so CARICOM member states would not have known as much about it as Barbados. So this was the first Heads of Government Summit that we had available to present it in great detail to our fellow CARICOM governments. So Prime Minister Motley spoke about it, as did Professor Avinash Prasad, who is the Prime Minister's Special Envoy on Climate. So our fellow CARICOM nations were able to get a very good understanding of it. Of course, they've all embraced it. They will all be seeking to use the upcoming spring meetings at the IMF and World Bank to push the initiative. Prime Minister Motley and the President of France, Macron, they are scheduled to have a special global summit in June in France to promote the ideas of the Bridgetown Initiative. CARICOM is on board with that. CARICOM has also agreed that they will be pushing have the Bridgetown Initiative on the agenda of COP 28 in the United Arab Emirates. Although I think that is an open door because the United Arab Emirates actually came to the conference and very much behind and supporting the Bridgetown Initiative. And just for viewers, the Bridgetown Initiative is this cutting edge program to solve the climate crisis, to solve the world's climate crisis, to keep the global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees by the end of this century, but also to solve the crisis of development for developing countries, to vastly increase the amount of capital available for investment in solving things like poverty and education for all and healthcare for all, and also to reform the multilateral development banks and the international financial institutions, to bring them into the 21st century and to upscale them and make them more relevant to the very critical issues facing mankind today.
Having listed the number of people who came from North America, from the United Arab Emirates, Africa, who were part of this meeting as well, talk to me about advancing their support in advancing the CARICOM agenda globally, really. What did Canada say? What did North America, just North America in general, also say in understanding the issues of CARICOM?
Yeah. Well, Canada came, the Prime Minister of Canada came with, in an effort to enhance the relationship between Canada and CARICOM. So, for example, he has proposed that we have a specific Canada CARICOM summit, heads of government summit, later this year. He also came trying to make a contribution, financial contribution to our efforts to deal with the climate crisis in the Caribbean, our efforts to deal with the Haitian migrant crisis, and things of that nature. And he came also to outline what Canada is trying to do in relation to Haiti and to solicit the support of CARICOM. Everybody actually came requesting the support of CARICOM for their initiatives. So, for example, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, she is embarked on a program of reforms. She wants the support, the active support of CARICOM. The United States, likewise, John Kerry came to talk about the fight against global warming and the partnership that they wish to have with CARICOM. So everybody came with their own priorities and wanting CARICOM's involvement and support. For me, though, Pearson, the goosebump moment of the conference, the moment that caused you to actually fight back the shedding of tears, was the African Export-Import Bank engagement with the heads of government, President Orama of the bank, because after all of these years of trying to bring about the concrete unity of Africa and the Caribbean, it is finally happening in a very big way, Pearson. And so we are talking about the bank setting up its headquarters here in Barbados, the bank allocating 1.5 billion US dollars to finance trade and investment between Africa and the Caribbean. And President Orama made it clear, if the other CARICOM, nine CARICOM states have signed on to the partnership thus far, if the others sign on, that 1.5 billion will go to 3 billion. The bank is going to help us, is going to work with our CARICOM Development Fund to develop Caribbean development bonds to help finance development across the region. They are financing studies to lead towards the development of a Caribbean export-import bank. We are looking this. Our central bankers are right now in discussions with the bank to see how we can take their Pan-African payments and settlement system and apply it to the Caribbean. We used to have a similar system decades ago with the CARICOM multilateral clearing facility. So this is a payment system that facilitates trade across the region, so that when you're trading, you don't have to be paying out in hard currencies. So we're going to try to apply their system and a whole range of things, Pearson. I mean,
Yes.
we are on the verge of the direct flights between Barbados and Nigeria,
Wow.
and investment, African cruise tourism centered on Barbados in the Caribbean, so it was so moving, and to hear the commitment of the bank to reversing the Middle Passage,
Yes.
the historic significance of reversing that Middle Passage, reversing that painful history of the transatlantic slave trade, and instead coming together in our own right to build our lives together. It was very moving. Professor Hilary Beckles spoke, Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, very, very moving moment.
I feel it already by your description of what happened. You're walking in my mind somehow, because those are the kinds of things I really wanted to hear about. But while there also, you had a chance to present your credentials, and because you were on the ground, I'm sure you had opportunity to look around the place where you were in Nassau, Bahamas, to see the potential for relationships between the two. Were you able to identify any specific things that you'd like to be able to advance discussions on between Barbados and the Bahamas?
Yes, so I am now Barbados's non-resident High Commissioner to the Bahamas. I'm also non-resident High Commissioner to Belize and to Jamaica. And my thinking is that just as Barbados has an outreach program to the Southern Caribbean, we have a very comprehensive and dynamic program with Guyana and Suriname, that we could similarly have an outreach to the Northern Caribbean, principally Belize, Jamaica, and the Bahamas. So I'm going to be working on that. Already, we are very well advanced in developing joint cooperation programs with both Belize and Jamaica. So we are now going to work on Bahamas, but rather than seeing them as separate cooperation agreements, we're going to see how we can have an overarching Northern Caribbean cooperation program. I think ways in which Barbados and the Bahamas can come together. I even see the possibility of a special reside and work program between the two countries, where our people, Barbadians, can go to explore work and career opportunities in the Bahamas, and likewise, we both share in common tourism, the international business sector. We both have aspirations for developing renewable energy, for developing the ocean or blue economy. There can be synergies between their John Canoe and our Crop Over Festival,
Yes.
young education linkages. I would like to see many more Bahamian students at our Cave Hill campus, and particularly at our Errol Barrow Center for Creative Imagination, training in the arts and so forth. So many, many things to explore, and I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. But we have some pictures of your experience while you were there. We want to share with the rest of Barbados and the world. There it is. You're meeting with the Governor General of the Bahamas, I believe, in this picture?
Yes, Sir Cornelius Smith. I'm actually presenting my letter of credence to him. So that would be the letter from President Dame Sandra Mason, presenting me to the government of the Bahamas as a person worthy to be Barbados's official representative to the Bahamas. So that was, a very moving ceremony. And that's my Bahamian counterpart, the lady Ambassador Miller Bryce. She is Bahamas's ambassador to CARICOM, and she's
Yes.
also Bahamas's non-resident High Commissioner to Barbados.
Okay. You know, as I was watching and listening for just a moment, I'd love to be able to write your story, your life story. At some point, it has to be such a wonderful story to write and to read. Indeed, I hope that at some point that you take some time to document all that you've been doing in your relatively short space on Earth so far. So we want to thank you so much, Ambassador Comissiong, for all that you've been doing and for joining us again this morning in our conversations on CARICOM.
Thank you, Pearson. I really think that our best years as a country and as a region are ahead of us. I see so much, we are facing many challenges, but there's also so much promise. And I think we are finally coming into a real consciousness of ourselves, who we are, and what we need to do and be in this world.
And a lot of that redounds to you and your efforts and your contributions here with us on Conversations on CARICOM. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome indeed. Ambassador David Comissiong, Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, giving us a report on his recent and what happened recently at the 44th regular meeting of CARICOM Heads of Government, plus his presentation of his credentials to the government and the peoples of the Bahamas.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning.